Shavannia Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to kick off SHEMAKERS Live on YouTube. I am really excited about launching this show. It's something that I've had in my heart and mind to do for a while now. You all know that at Heels and Helmets, we're focused on women and helping women take their game to the next level. We have three main focuses at Heels and Helmets, and they are to one, connect women to resources and to help them develop and grow. Two, coaching. We want to make sure that you are trained and equipped to be your best. And then finally, champion the issue around gender inequality and tackle the pay gap. This show will be an opportunity for us to hit on all three of those objectives in our game plan. And I can't wait to tell you what we have in store for you this season. But tonight is a time for us to celebrate and learn from me, your host. I often get questions around how I got into sports, what made me think about using sports to empower women, and how do I get money to start a business? So tonight, I want to walk you all through my journey from a small town in Michigan of only 13,000 people to the nation's capital, working in the US Senate, to working with 4 major sports leagues, starting my own business, and helping other women to succeed. Tonight's not just about me, it's about you. So please comment and ask your questions so I can give you the answers and hopefully some notes for your playbook. Now, this is not some conversation where you're just going to sit back and laugh. So get out your notebooks. I am going to drop gems to help you get your playbook together. This is all about helping women succeed, not only in business, but in life. So, SHEMAKERS, we're going to be having conversations with some real SHEMAKERS this season. I am going to have you learn from HR professionals so you can get your resume together and nail your next interview. Callie Franklin, who is the Vice President of Human Resources at the New York Football Club, will be here this season. Also, Joyette Jones-Godet, who is the Director of People and Culture for the Atlanta Hawks, will be joining us this season. We're also going to help you entrepreneurs learn how to get the major contracts. How would you like to hear from Chincy Mouton, who is Director of Business Connect for the LA Sports Commission? In her role, she is focused on helping entrepreneurs and small business owners get the tools they need to land contracts with large events like the Super Bowl and the Olympics, all coming to LA in the next 5 years. We're going to celebrate women and honor the women who are working to help organizations create environments for women to thrive. We're going to hear from the Vice President of Communications, Naomi Patton, who works at the Catalyst. The Catalyst is an organization that helps global companies create positive environments for women to work in. We'll also hear from our friend Diana Ruiz, who leads the Global Women's Leadership Initiative. Now, this is founded in sports. So you know I'm going to bring some SHEMAKERS who are also working in the game of sports on the team side, the league side, as well as company. So I have Ellen Hill, the Vice President of Marketing at the Detroit Tigers, in store for you all. I have Gail Dent at the NCAA, who leads communication and works on diversity inclusion, ready to speak with you all. I have Lauren Fisher McBrayer, who leads all of customer service for A&B Sports and Entertainment. That's Atlanta United, Atlanta Falcons, as well as Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then also, check this out, my friend Skay Knopfsinger, who heads all of sports marketing for the soccer division at Adidas, will be here to talk to you all as well. And that's just the first season. Now, I told you this is also about life. So the month of May, get ready, because I'm bringing in some SHEMAKERS who are balancing being a mother, being an entrepreneur, and also giving back to their communities. We'll have my good friend Janelle Lynch, who is the owner of a very unique business called Executive Doula Agency. She's working with companies to help them foster conducive environments to support women from pre-birth to postpartum. We're also going to go to the military for Memorial Day week and have my good friend Nikki, who is in communications at Department of Defense. We're also going to get to see me have a really personal conversation with my own mother. You want to know where my spirit of becoming a she-maker comes from? That's going to be the conversation. And I'm really looking forward to that. So let's get to it, you all. Where did Shavannia get her start? I know some of you may think, after reading my bio, that it actually comes from the University of Michigan. Well, it goes back much further than that. I actually have to give some credit to all of the people who mentored me and surrounded me as a little girl on the campus of Western Michigan University. See, my mother and father were young parents, so my formative years were spent on the campus of Western Michigan University. And during that time, I not only wanted to be like my mother and her friends, I wanted to actually be them. They were all studying business, communication, sociology, psychology. I was so intrigued. So instead of reading Dr. Seuss, I was sitting with my mother reading about Barbara Walters and Lee Iacocca, who was leading Chrysler at the time. I couldn't wait to be a girl running around campus, preparing for interviews, for internships. That's what my conversations were like growing up. As a 5-year-old girl, I was in heels, imitating my mother and her friends, putting on a blazer as if I was going to prepare for an interview. Those beginning years are really what caused me to study communications and marketing in college. So once I got to college, I was all focused on business and communication. And then this really big thing happened. My first weekend at school, there was a mass of people all walking to Michigan football stadium. And I was blown away. Even as an in-state student, I had not experienced Michigan football and didn't think anything about it. In fact, I didn't look at schools in state until the last minute. Again, I grew up in a very small town, so my whole focus was just getting away. I was really planning to go out of state, but I had the opportunity to start college in the summer and I was ready to go. So that first weekend, I saw thousands of people descending on Michigan Stadium. And it just really impacted me to see the influence of sports, how it brings diverse people together. And I was just so excited that I had to get more of it and wanted to be around it. So while I was a student, I then started working for the athletic department and then Michigan football. And that just really um, helped me grow in the sport, learning the X's and O's. I was never interested in football before. I'm from the North, so being outside during the cold was not something that I was really interested in doing. So in high school, I was actually more into basketball than I was football. But once I started working for Michigan football, I just saw the intricacies in how detailed each play was and how important it was for each team member to know their position, to know it well, and to execute so that the play could be done flawlessly. And I was hooked. As I began to study more about sports, I wanted to go on the global stage. So while I was in college, I was fortunate that the Summer Olympics were hosted right here in the US. They were in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was definitely going to get a piece of the action. I found an opportunity working with Visa on their sponsorship of the summer 1996 Summer Olympic Games and flew down to Atlanta to start that job. Now, what people did not know at the time is that I didn't have a place to live, but I was so determined. I said, forget that. I don't care what it takes. I'm working on the Olympics. And prayerfully and thankfully now, it all worked out. When I got to Atlanta, I did find a place to live and had a really great summer staying in Atlanta, working with Visa. And I had some really unique experiences to meet the greats, like, of course, Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali. This was back in the 90s. We weren't all walking around with phones 24 hours a day then. And I have never been a big picture person, but they are memories that I hold very dear to my heart. So after I graduated from college, I took a job in the office furniture industry with a company by the name of Steelcase. Still very passionate about sports. However, I wasn't humble enough to take the opportunities that were presented to me in sports. So while the NBA was attractive for me to go to New York and, make $30,000 or less was not going to get it. There was no way I felt like I could live in New York and work, especially the hours that sports require, for less than $30,000. So I went the Fortune 100 route and joined Steelcase. That's what took me to DC. And it was actually a really great opportunity. Working for a Fortune 100 company, a large global Fortune 100 company, it gave me the opportunity to really fine tune my business acumen. So everything that I learned in school, I was able to apply. It also taught me how to structure a business and set goals, set vision, and how to establish the culture for your company. While it's still case, though, I was laid off. After 9/11, I was laid off from my role at Steelcase and didn't take any time to rest. I got right back up and hit the ground running. And you will never believe where. I went from Steelcase to Capitol Hill in one of, or not one of, I'll say the most prominent US Senator's office, Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton. And it was a very exciting but also challenging time. The senator was a junior senator for New York. We know the population of New York. She was also in her first year of being a senator after being first lady. She had a book out at the time and representing the state, New York, that was greatly impacted by 9/11. So it was a very busy time and very uncertain time. In so many ways, it reminds me of the time that we are facing right now, where we do not know what is going to come from the next day. So, how did I get that opportunity? It came from contributing and giving back. I volunteered with the Thursday Network, which is the Young Professional Auxiliary of the Greater Washington Urban League. And as a volunteer, I stepped up and led the Public Relations Committee. On my committee was a young lady who worked for the senator. So that day, not looking for an opportunity, I actually called her and shared that I had just been laid off. And her response was, "That is excellent. Oh my gosh. Can you please come help us? We were just about to post for another comms press intern. And I already know that you can write." So later that day, there I was working for Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton. After that experience, I didn't have any long term political aspirations, but I was grateful for the time spent in that office because it really helped me learn working with the press, keeping them at bay, managing high profile individuals, and also the logistics to media, your press conferences, the pitching, as well as just relating to the media and getting your story out, but also being able to keep some things behind. So while in DC, I took the time to actually get right back into sports. At that point in my career, I had made some Fortune 100 money, but really wanted to focus on my passion. And at this point, I felt like if it is not going to be fulfilling to me, then I shouldn't be doing it. So I actually applied for an opportunity to just volunteer on events with the Washington Wizards. They reached out to me for a job. So that was such a blessing for me to just get my foot in the door with the sports team. And I wasn't expecting it since I had reached out to them about some of their volunteer events opportunity. From that first project with them, which was part time, they asked me to come on board full time, and I ended up staying there almost 5 years, working in different capacities from sales to sponsorship, which I really loved. I left the Washington Wizards, Mystics, and Capitals to join the team in Detroit, leading marketing. For me, it was a very exciting opportunity. If you're going to be in sports, you want to be at the NFL, the top. And that's the opportunity that I took. I could not have imagined the other opportunities that would come from my time in Detroit. I certainly had the perfect storm there. During my time in Detroit, we were in a recession, and Detroit was hit really hard. The big three were all laying off. In fact, at that time when I started the role, General Motors had announced that they were laying off 30,000 people. That's a lot of people. It's almost 3 times the amount of people that make up, or the population of the city that I grew up in. So imagine being challenged with selling out Detroit Lions games when one of its largest employers is laying off 30,000 people. In addition to that, there was a mayoral scandal at the time, so I felt like I had the perfect storm, but weathered through with creative packages and experiences that brought out new fans. Unfortunately, my time in Detroit came to an end when they restructured the marketing, sales, and promotions department, combining marketing and in game promotions. So my position was eliminated. But just like when Steelcase laid me off, I didn't give up, and I didn't sit around licking my wounds. I got up, I went back to DC, and I started my own marketing company. And it was the best thing that I could have done at that time. If not for that time, Hills and Helmets would not have existed. And it's something that I definitely am really proud of, to be able to look at an experience and take the good from it, and then be able to build something that's actually going to help and empower others. So while I was focused on SW Group full time, I landed opportunities with NFL Players, which is the marketing and licensing arm of the NFLPA, the Union for NFL Players. I also worked with the NFL and United Way on their joint campaign. I had the opportunity to create experiences with GMC Monday Night Football. So all of those things really were beneficial for me, and it's the work that I love. The thing that I really enjoy about marketing is that it fulfills my curiosity because of the research that I do, and it also allows me to be creative on building and curating experiences and executing very exciting advertising campaigns. So that's the quick version of me and my career journey from college to where I am now. And throughout the process, as you all heard, I definitely had some losses. And of course, everyone loves to see the pictures where you're teaching business owners to get Super Bowl contracts, and when you're attending the All-Star game, but they're not with you when you get the letter that you're going to be laid off, or you have the conversation with someone informing you that you are not going to have a position there because they are merging two departments. So how have I always got back up and made a comeback? Football, it takes 10 yards to get a first yard. I mean, to get a first down. So tonight, I'm going to take you through my 10 steps to a comeback. The first one is to just exhale. Change is difficult, and it can be jarring when you get news unexpected. Whether it is a layoff or a death in the family, change can be really traumatic. You have to first take a moment to just exhale. Give yourself time and space to breathe. Go enjoy some of the things that you enjoy doing and own your feelings. It's okay to say that's messed up. It's okay to say that I'm sad. It's okay to say that I'm worried about the future, especially when you are losing your your job, when you have worked in an environment and you have enjoyed it, and you also have the resources to pay for the things that you enjoy, but also the necessities. So take a moment to just first exhale and allow yourself the space and the time to breathe. Now, on to our next point. Number two, remember who you are. I have an assignment for you all. I want you all to put together a little trophy case for you, a little trophy case for yourself. For years, I kept what I call a kudos folder. In that kudos folder, I have emails from people congratulating me. I have notes with people thanking me and showing appreciation. I've also kept performance reviews and just other things that make me feel good and remind me of who I am. So never be defined by the position that you have or the title that you have. What somebody says about you is not you. You are a person with so much to offer. You're talented. And that doesn't change because you no longer have the position that you had, or you no longer have the job that you have, or you haven't received the job that you have. For those of you who are just graduating from college and coming into the workforce during this pandemic, I know that it's scary. And I know that it can be discouraging after hearing no, but do not allow what other people to say about you to define who you are. I remember when I was let go from the Detroit Lions and I was having a conversation with a colleague, and the colleague said to me, now you're not going to be able to say that you are the director of marketing for the Detroit Lions when you go for opportunities or pitch ideas. And I was offended and also kind of baffled and confused. Like, what do you mean? I don't get to say that I'm the director of marketing for the Detroit Lions. That doesn't change who I am. They recruited me because I am Shavannia Williams. So I still will hold my head up high. I think the prize is saying Shavannia Williams, not Detroit Lions. I was Shavannia Williams before I got here. I was Shavannia Williams while I was at Detroit Lions. And I'm going to be Shavannia Williams leaving the Detroit Lions. And that's what you all have to remind yourself of. You are not your title. You are not the company that you work for. But you have to define that for yourself and remind yourself of the courage that you have and your talent. Even now, when I encounter things, I remind myself, you are that 19-year-old girl who got on a plane and went to Atlanta without a place to live. You guys are special, and the world may try to knock you down, but you get back up. And do not let others define you. Remember who you are. Number three, focus on your belief. What is keeping you going? Why are you even getting up? Why do you want this so bad? And it can't just be about the party. It can't be about the show. And it certainly cannot be about the money. It has to be something deeper. Because, like a tree, you need to be rooted in something to stay strong and flourish. Think about this. Fake tree set on cement, it can easily be moved because it's not rooting in anything. You can knock that tree down and keep on moving. A little wind blow and the tree will be gone. But a strong tree that's rooted in the ground, you aren't moving that. Think about this. To build a new community, what has to take place? The trees actually have to be uprooted. And sometimes those roots are so strong that when that new subdivision is complete, homes start to shift because those roots come up again. So, what are you rooted in? I want you to practice this. I call it the belief statement. Write down, I believe, so I am doing. I'll give you an example. I believe that women deserve equal respect for their contributions, their innovation, and leadership. So I am working to create awareness to tackle the pay gap. What's your belief system or your belief statement? Please share with me. Even after this conversation, I would love to see some of you all's belief statements. Again, I believe, so I am doing. That's what's going to root you. And being rooted in something, you won't be knocked down. You may be pushed a little bit, but you will not be knocked down and uprooted. Number 4, continue to train. What made you successful yesterday is not going to make you successful today. People evolve, the world changes, so you have to stay fresh. I mean, social media didn't even exist when I was in college. So I certainly did not take a class on leveraging it to motivate people to take action. However, I have continued to learn about marketing, whether it has been in formal settings like workshops and seminars, or just reading on my own. When you encounter something like a layoff or just rejection from not getting an opportunity, I see a lot of people do the wrong thing by staying in to themselves. This is the time for you to get out. Training doesn't just come from the learning with workshops and reading on your own, it also comes from getting out there, meeting people, talking to people, hearing different perspectives. So, this is actually the time for you to do even more. Push yourself to get out, to train, and not just be at home thinking that you do not have anything to offer. Again, when you know who you are, you're not relying on a title to introduce yourself when you go to networking events. Having that belief statement will actually be a conversation starter. You'll be able to talk authentically about your interests and what you want to do to solve the problem, as opposed to actually being a little complacent and saying, oh, I am the vice president of this organization. I am the marketing director. I am senior legal counsel. That's not exciting. Anyone can rattle that off. Take the opportunity for people to truly get to know you. That's where you really shine. My 5th point on to making your comeback is, nice segue, to be authentic. Be yourself. Often people are so concerned that they are going to not get an opportunity, so they want to manufacture a brand. You have to be authentic. I'm not saying that we do not learn things and then evolve and add things, but you have to be authentic with your brand. So for me, when I think about heels and helmets and how much I love heels, it goes back to me being a child and walking around in my grandmother's heel. My grandmother, you all, she was old fashioned in a very good way. Such a lady. She grew up in the era where men were men, and I like to say ladies were ladies. I actually was joking with my sister the other day because we had said that neither one of us had a memory of ever seeing her in pants. She was always in a skirt, always in a dress. Even when we walked to the farmer's market, she had on her pumps. So for me to have a business named Heels and Helmets, to be teased about walking in heels all of the time, I actually have a really funny story that I need to share with you all really quick to just make the point about being authentic. A couple years ago, I took my nephew to his swim class. And when we got to the locker room to take off all of our shoes, there were a bunch of Crocs and tennis shoes. And then there was one lonely pair of heels. That was me. Yes, I was the aunt who showed up to swim practice with my heels. I'm going to post this picture on my Instagram after this call. And then I'd love to hear you all comment about something that's really true to you with the hashtag be authentic. I can't fake wearing heels. And if you're a person who does not like heels, you wouldn't be able to fake it. At some point, it's going to it's going to diminish and people will see through that facade. So you need to be authentic and be authentic in your storytelling. One thing that I have learned from being laid off is that it can be difficult to have the conversation with someone for your next opportunity about what happened. So I encourage you all, or my advice to you all is to be authentic, focused on what you learned, how you contributed, what you can contribute to this company, and move forward. You do not need to go into the details of what has happened, but focus on what you can contribute. I think that oftentimes we think that people are looking at us in ways that they are not looking at us at all and feel the need to disclose information that's not necessary. So be authentic and true to yourself. Talk about the contributions that you'll make with the organization. And with your circle of friends, then you can disclose more and let yourself be vulnerable because that's where your help will come from. If I had not told my friend Janelle that I was laid off, she would have never said, hey, come work with us in Senator Clinton's office. So you need to be authentic. Number 6, we're getting close to that first down. Speak truth. Speak truth to yourself and to others. There are some things that we are saying to ourselves, it's just not true. And words are very, very powerful. What would you say to your friend who was laid off? What would you say to your friend who was trying to start a business? What would you say to your friend who is facing anything that is difficult? You would be kind. We have to demonstrate that same kindness when we speak to ourselves and give affirming information. Speak truth about what you really have. And I think about that from the standpoint of even the resources that you have for your business. I remember thinking about some of the things that I wanted to do with my business and saying, oh, I don't have the money for this. I don't have resources for that. And one day it dawned on me that I wasn't speaking truthfully to myself. I did have resources. Perhaps I did not have all of the financial capital to do what I wanted to do, but I certainly had resources. I had a very strong network, and not just a network, but a very supportive network. People who would help me with my events, people who worked at companies who would introduce me to decision makers at their companies to give me space for my events. All of that was much more powerful than any dollar because it opened me up and it gave me things that I did not even think about using. So be mindful about what you are saying to yourself and speak truth because the truth is you have a lot more than what you think. I know we're coming up on time, so I'm going to go through our final ones really quickly. Number 7, establish rules, especially when you have been in a situation where you are changing your environment. When you go from working full time to not working at all, you have to establish the rules for yourself. When you are working for someone, you have a routine. You're getting up at a certain time, You have to be at work at a certain time. You leave work at a certain time. Well, now you have to establish the rules for yourself. What are your boundaries? And what are you going to do when someone goes out of bounds? What penalties will there be? And you have to do that for yourself personally. So for me to even get my rest and have downtime, my friends all know that I have D&D at 9:30. D&D, if you don't know, is do not disturb. Do not disturb on my phone starts at 9:30 because I have to set a boundary for Shavannia Williams to rest, to regroup, and not hear a bunch of alerts and notifications going off. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to bed at 9:30, even though I do like my beauty rest. But I do set time for me to just decompress for the day and unwind. Number 8, get a team. We can't do this alone. So you need a team. As I said earlier, be authentic, ask for help, and tell people to hold you accountable. So a team doesn't necessarily mean that you are hiring a bunch of people or that you have interns and an attorney and an accountant. It just means putting together your network to learn, to grow, to bounce off ideas off of each other, and also to hold you accountable. When I started my business, I hosted what I called office hours. I got together other entrepreneurs and also people who had been laid off and were looking for their next opportunity to meet me at a coffee shop or at the library, and we worked together. None of us were necessarily working on the same thing, but it was a teaming environment to be able to share and, like I said, hold each other accountable. 9, plan the work. You're rested, you are training, you're getting your team together. Now put the plan together. You need that roadmap to guide you. Otherwise, ideas will just be fleeting and you too will be moving with the wind. Like I said about the fake tree sitting on the sidewalk. Have a plan. Be flexible with that plan and open to new ideas, but be grounded in your belief statement and plan your work. And finally, number 10, just go for it. You have to put things into action. That's where you'll really get your mojo and your motivation to keep going. When you take one step, oh, you get fired up and you're ready to take another step. And I'll tell you all, that has always helped me because I'm analytical. I told you all I'm curious and I am a planner to my detriment sometimes. But every time I take that step, I'm like, Shavannia, what were you waiting on? Get going, girl. It feels so much better to be moving. Think about it. When you go out for a jog or even a walk, once you take that first step, it feels good and you're empowered to take another step. I actually had planned to start this SHEMAKERS live last March, had grand plans. I rented studio space, and we know what happened with the pandemic. Changed all of my plans. So then I shifted and said, well, do it in my home. Well, the house I was going to buy had problems with it. So I didn't purchase that home and was thinking, what next? So I was all packed up. I didn't have anything out to even do it in my current home. And finally, I just said, it is time to move forward. You've planned, you know what you want to say, you know what you want this show to be about. Get into action. Once I sent out the first invitation for this show, man, I got feedback from that guest. She was really excited, and that got me moving. I sent the next invitation out and assembled the team to help me with the production. And now we are here. So after you've done the work, be confident and just go for it. I know we have some questions from you all this evening. Thank you all again for joining me on launching SHEMAKERS Live. I'm really excited to have you all. I'm humbled by the guests who are already committed to being on SHEMAKERS in our very first season. I still can't believe the diversity that we have coming on in this first season. Now, we're going to take questions first from some of the subscribers to the weekly replay. If you're not a part of our family, please go to heelsandhelmets.com and subscribe to the weekly replay. It's our newsletter, and as a subscriber, you will be first to know who our upcoming guests will be. You'll also have the opportunity to submit your questions before we go live. So with that, we'll take our first question.
Hey, Shavannia, this is Malia Mack coming from Marietta, Georgia. My question is, what would you say to someone who's feeling unmotivated, stuck in this pandemic, whether they're back to work or not, and how do they find that spark again?
I do not know that the audience could hear that question. Can you all hear? Were you all able to hear it? A thumbs up in the comments if you were able to hear it. I'm wearing AirPods, so I'm not sure. Well, if you all could not hear the question, I will repeat it. Ritza, let me know if we need to take the AirPods off for the next question. Oh, they heard it. Yay. So first, Malia, I want to tell you that you do not have to find your spark. Your light is in you. You may need to ignite it, but the spark, your light doesn't go away. As I said earlier, we have to remember who we are. Whatever has happened in your life doesn't change who you are. Something has happened to you, but that doesn't change the person that you are. So take some time for yourself and do the exercise on remembering who you are. Go start your trophy case and put all of the good memories that you have, people cheering you on, people celebrating your excellence, and remind yourself of who you are. And once you read those things, you'll be fueled and you'll be excited to get back to the work and take that light wherever you go. I personally say bloom where you are planted, but we could also say shine wherever you are. When I took the opportunity at Steelcase, I wasn't excited about office furniture, but my job and my work doesn't define me. I take the light where I go. So I hope that you too will be encouraged to take the light wherever you go. So perhaps the role you have now is not your dream job, but guess what? You could meet someone there who leads you to your dream job. You could make such an impact there, and not just in the work, but in the people. Some of my greatest moments have been from people sharing with me something that I poured into them. Sure, I have accolades from being a top salesperson in the WNBA and the NBA, and I can talk to you about the earned media that I have. But what really makes me smile is to hear that someone who worked for me is grateful for what I poured into them and how prepared they felt for their next job. So know that you shine wherever you go, and it's not just in the output professionally. Thank you for your question. Next question.
Hi, SHEMAKERS. I'm Sarah, tuning in from Atlanta, and my question is, was it hard starting your own brand, and what are some tips that you can give to people looking to do the same?
Hi, Sarah, and thank you for your question. It wasn't hard for me to start the brand. I would say it's not difficult, but it does take time. And you have to be really thoughtful in establishing your brand. With the things that I taught you all today about remembering who you are and having your belief statement, those things will be the foundation to your brand. For Heels and Helmets, it was natural for me because it's an extension of who I truly am. You know, like I said earlier, you have to be authentic in establishing your brand. I'm sure you all have seen it. There are tons of celebrities who have manufactured brands. Their teams have manufactured them to be a certain way and to present themselves in a certain way. Of course, there is a time and place for everything, but I'm talking about who you are truly as a person, which extends into your business. That has to be authentic. For heels and helmets, I've told you all the stories about me being a 2 year old running around in my grandmother's heels. So that was the foundation for me. Heels is symbolic for women. One thing that was really frustrating for me is to see that to excel and to climb up that ladder to get to the C suite, women had to conform a little bit. You see women move from dresses and skirts to pantsuits to be accepted into the boys club. That's because our ideas of leadership, unfortunately, are very masculine. And I wanted to change that. Now, there's a little bit of balance because we also have to be mindful of how some of our apparel, heels, and makeup can be perceived. And we want people to take us seriously. But I was really purposeful in naming the organization Heels and Helmets, as opposed to even helmets and heels, because I'm putting women first and I want women, all of you SHEMAKERS, to put yourselves first. Helmets started off as just football, and it's the sport that I am most passionate about. And that evolved to be symbolic of all sports. In my first logo, I had heels on top of helmets because, again, women are first. And I am working to help us use sports to excel in our careers. Now you'll see in our new brand that heels is not only on top, but it's woven through helmets at the bottom. And that's because we're making progress. We're getting we're getting into sports and business and politics and leadership and dominating. So establishing the brand is not difficult, it's not hard, but it does take time, and you have to be really thoughtful to build and then execute on your brand. And I think
Hello, my name is Shaylin, and I'm tuning in from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And my question is, what advice would you give your younger self? Hello.
advice to my younger self, certainly the gems that I dropped this evening, I would tell her so she would get them earlier. But most importantly, I would tell little Shavanna to relax, enjoy the ride. There's just so much goodness out there for you, girl. That's what I would tell her. Enjoy it. I remember my junior year of college, I was on track to graduate in 3 years. And my mother said, calm down. There's nothing but work out there. There's no need to rush it. So that's what I would tell her, to just calm down, enjoy the ride, and you do not have to worry about planning to the T. You're going to fail, and that's okay. Do we have another question? Okay, well, if that's all the questions. Oh, we do have one. Well, thank you, Danita. I'm glad that you could join and look forward to having you on for more episodes. Another question or comment? Okay, well, we are coming up on time. I had so much fun, you all. As you all can see, you guys have made me emotional, which I was so not planning on doing. I, can always easily talk about just business and politics and sports, and then you all ask personal things, and it makes me emotional. But that's the glory, and the real beauty in what SHEMAKERS will truly be all about. Like I said, we have to be authentic, and that's where the magic happens, when you're authentic and you can shine, because there are a lot of people who have similar ideas. There are a lot of people who will be in the same industry and will start the same business, but there's only one you. And you have to think about what is uniquely you. Coke and Pepsi, same type of business. Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, same type of business. General Motors, Mercedes-Benz, same industry. But what makes each one of them unique? Thank you, ladies, so much, and gentlemen, for joining me for the very first episode of SHEMAKERS Live. I am just thrilled and humbled that you all spent this evening with me to kick off SHEMAKERS. Now, what do we have coming up next? Well, let me give you a hint. Yesterday, Washington football team made a pretty big announcement. They announced Jennifer King as the offensive assistant coach. Woo, 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 woo. What does that mean? That means she is the first African-American female NFL coach in history. And I am so excited to tell you that she will be joining us next week. So you better subscribe right now to make sure that you get an alert with Jennifer King coming on. It's a really big day because it's National Girls and Women in Sports Day. It's also the first show during the month of African American History Month. And guess what? It's the show before Super Bowl. So we're going to really have a good time talking to Jennifer about working in male-dominated environments. Now, I do not know if there is an environment that's more male-dominated than an NFL coaching locker room. Jennifer actually coached against one of the Super Bowl teams, Tampa Bay, earlier this month in an NFL wildcard. So I know she's also going to break down some X's and O's and give us some insight to help us with our Super Bowl predictions. Be sure to subscribe. You do not want to miss. I'm going to consider this another first because it's the first SHEMAKERS with a guest. And I am so looking forward to it. The other thing is, if you have questions now, be sure that you subscribe to Weekly Replay so you can be one of the first to get your questions in for Jennifer King. Thank you guys again for joining our show. I look forward to working with you all. I'd love to get you in the huddle. There are other ways to work with Heels and Helmets and SHEMAKERS. We have partnership opportunities to build programming. We have advertising opportunities on the show. There is training, and also there is coaching. And I'm putting together something really special for my free agents. I know it's been a difficult time with the pandemic, and there have been a lot of changes. And in particular, the sports and entertainment industry has been impacted. So I'm putting together a special package and programming to give some coaching to my free agents. Stay connected with us, not just on Wednesday, but we are wherever you are. So you can follow at Heels and Helmets on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Well, ladies, I can't say it enough, but I am so thrilled to be on this journey for you. My goal is to help you win in business and life. You are a SHEMAKER, and I'm going to help you get to the end zone and win. Until next week, have a wonderful time and bloom where you are planted.